Hey friends, it's Jen. Welcome back to the Homestead Heal podcast. Before I get into introducing my guest today, I have a couple things I want to share with you. First and foremost, let me begin by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I want you to know how incredibly grateful I am for all the love and support, plus that you're tuning in and finding value in the show. It's an honor to be in your ear each week, and I do not take it for granted. The show has been live for a few weeks now, and I can't tell you how humbling it's been. Thank you for the DMs. Thank you for the texts, the calls, the emails, the cards, etc. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening and taking time out to send me your love. You're amazing. I'm so grateful for you. And honestly, you're the reason I created this show. Second, after receiving some feedback, I decided to create a home wellness checklist so it's easy for you to get started on creating your sacred space. So if you're looking for inspiration and actionable ways that you can bring more peace and wellness into your home, I bundled my favorite tips, tools, and techniques so you can transform and harmonize your life. It's fun, it's free, and it's waiting for you to download over at jenhellerlifestyle.com. Okay, so let me just say that my guest today is not just super sweet and inspiring, but I'm over here just smiling from ear to ear because our connection is exactly why my life is so freaking much fun and abundant. We literally magnetize and attract the people we are and who we want to meet. They just show up. I'm telling you, friends, it's just how the universe works. And every day I receive confirmation of this belief. I met Megan's husband, Joe, at an event a few weeks ago, and he immediately said, "You need to meet my wife. She's amazing and you're going to love her." So she and I got on the phone a few weeks ago, and honestly, immediately I was like, "Your energy is amazing. Let me clear my schedule to get you on my show. I want to know more. My community is going to love and want to know you, and you are exactly the conversation I want to have every day, all day." So Megan Lewin is a wife to Joe, a homeschooling mama of 4, and what I think completely embodies what it means to live holistically abundant. She paints a gorgeous picture of how living richly doesn't necessarily mean with currency. It means time with yourself, time with your spouse, time outside, and overall values the basics in life. It's also about harnessing your spirit and calling back your inner wisdom and power in all areas of your life. Megan and Joe live on a little piece of property atop a hill surrounded by woods just outside Cincinnati, Ohio. She's a labor and delivery nurse by trade, but a full-time stay-at-home mom. She loves all things birth, nutrition, and holistic health. When they aren't traveling with their kids, Megan loves to bake sourdough bread, tend to their garden, fruit trees, chickens, and play with the kids outside in the woods. Megan is going to share a story about when their oldest son was 4 and battling a deep and severe issue with eczema. After a lot of frustration and an appointment with their pediatrician, her gut intuition kicked in and she decided to take a different approach. She decided to lean into what she had learned through her own research, take massive lifestyle action, and make radical changes in their home. Within a month, the changes spoke for themselves. Their son's nervous system was at peace and he was able to heal. What's also beautiful about Megan is while we weren't recording, I asked her, "Do you have anything specific you want to promote, share, or specific place people can follow you?" Her answer was, "No, not really. I'm just a wife and a mama and really enjoying this season of my life and just feel honored to talk with you." First and foremost, the honor is all mine, Megan. This is exactly why I invited her to chat and the foundation of this show, to share, to connect, and to have meaningful conversations about health and our families. I love it, and it's exactly why she and I no doubt found each other and our friendship. On today's show, you're going to hear how she took the wheel of their life, transformed their home into a healing sanctuary space, and how that experience created more peace and safety for their son, plus laid the foundation for a long-term lifestyle mission for their family. We'll also dive deep into the importance of getting outside and soaking in 1,000 hours of nature's abundance. I really hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. Without further ado, please welcome my wellness soul sister, Megan Lewin. Are you struggling with low energy, weight gain, hormonal imbalances, or heavy metal and mold toxicity? Do you want to learn more about anti-aging tips and creating more longevity in your life? Well, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and home health consultant. In this podcast, Homestead Heal, I will teach you how to transform your home into a health and wellness sanctuary. Your health is your wealth, and I believe that your home should be your sanctuary space, loaded with the tools you need to thrive in your life, not just survive. If you want to feel fantastic and transform your life and home, grab a pen, let's dive in and create a home that heals. Hey friends, Jen here. Welcome back to the Homes That Heal podcast. Today, I am super excited to meet my new friend, Megan. I'll get into the details here in just a few minutes, but we actually just recently connected through her husband and through some mutual friends. And I was so excited to invite her on the show because she has an amazing story. And as you can see, a bright light and has so much deep knowledge and valuable information that I think you're not only going to find interesting, but I think it's just really important for us to have this conversation. So first and foremost, Megan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I feel really honored to just get to have a conversation with you.
I know. And so what the listeners don't know is last week we met, so to speak, on the phone for the first time. And we just jumped on what we thought was going to be a quick, I think, 15-minute conversation.
Yep.
And next thing you know, an hour has passed. And I hang up the phone and I'm like, that was amazing. I need to talk to you more. And my friends and family and listeners need to hear you more. So here we are.
Yeah.
But you have a beautiful story. And we met through your husband, mutual friends, literally within a few weeks. And so what we found when Joseph and I were talking in Florida is that not only do we share a lot of mutual health and wellness goals, but you guys have a clear light fun in your house, which is fun. A lot of the different, like the Obasan bed we were talking about, there's so many synchronicities and things kind of leading us down the same path.
Mhm.
And we've also found a lot of the same home and health products and brands and supplements and things to be, we're in synergistic alignment there. And so again, I just thought it would be really fun to have a conversation. So tell me a little bit about how you stepped into this wellness path.
Yeah. So I grew up pretty standard American diet, amazing family. I had an awesome upbringing and graduated high school, went to college, became a nurse. Felt like it was my calling to care for people. I was always interested in health and I never had any lens of a holistic view. And then I met my husband and his dad is a chiropractor. His mom is a massage therapist and they're amazing. And I just started picking up these little bits of information that was really a huge paradigm shift. And so it was a slow progress for me. But what really kicked off our holistic wellness journey, whatever you want to call it, is when we were talking about starting to have kids. And so it was kind of something outside of me. I needed a why that was bigger than myself. And so we read a book by Dave Asprey that really was our entrance into this crunchy, holistic, however you want to say it, healthier lifestyle. And it was it was like the lid blew off, just so eye opening, so world opening for me. And it wasn't just overnight. We started doing the sauna 4 times a week and moving our body every day and eating organic food and sleeping on organic mattresses. It's little incremental changes that we've made over a decade now that we've been able to set the foundation for why we're wanting to live this way. And then building upon that, that really has been a journey for sure. And so it's been just really sweet to connect with you and hear wow, we've been on really different journeys, but a lot of similarities that have brought us to where we are today. And so, yeah, that was kind of our first initial why we got into a holistic or more healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Dave Asprey was kind of early in my journey as well. I met him, gosh, I think 12 years ago when I was at one of my first health conferences and bought his book, Bulletproof, at the time. And it, again, same as you, kind of blew the lid off like, whoa, what? What is
Yep.
all of this information? Where did this come from? But I feel like we have been on very different journeys, but almost like we're walking through the same woods, just kind of parallel. And it's been the same for me too. And I get asked that. That's probably one of the biggest questions that I get asked is, where do I start? What do I do? How do I step into this? My life is a mess. I know I need to make change. What do I do? You just teed it up. It's like simple changes. Pick the ones that resonate the most or would be considered the priority. For me, it was my nutrition and my weight and the heavy metal
Yeah.
toxicity. Like that was priority. But all of the things in the home and all of the things in your lifestyle play a role. Like that's the wellness wheel. That's how you tip the scales is you just
Yeah.
start small. I mean, if you change the ship 1 degree, you're going to end up in a completely different direction, right?
Yeah.
So you had shared with me last week when we talked about your son,
Yeah.
and how, yeah, I know. I'm
Yeah.
excited for you to share. So
Yeah.
let's,
So when we were like talking about having kids, it was kind of like, I love that you just said the scales, like the tipping point. So it's like you put one little weight on there and it changes a little bit. But the massive shift and tipping point, I'd say, in our life when my son was 4, his eczema had gotten so, so bad. He would scratch all night and there would be blood on his sheets when he woke up. He wasn't sleeping well. It was affecting huge portions of his life. And so young mom, I have no idea
mm,
what I'm doing. I take him to the pediatrician and she's sweet, kind doctor, like no ill advised to us at all. And she was just like, he's gonna have to take oral steroids. Like, this is really bad. He's gonna need to be on steroid cream. And I just thought to myself, as a nurse, I was like, something's not right here. Like, how is my 4-year-old just gonna go on rounds of steroids for his life? Like, we're never gonna find out why he has this. I had this kind of background information from reading books, but it was like those small steps. We weren't like really fully immersed into holistic lifestyle at this point. And so I told her, I said, let me think about it. I'm going to do some research, like respectfully. We had a great conversation, no animosity between us. And I just said, let me come back in a couple weeks. And I went home. I talked to my father in law, who's an incredible wealth of knowledge as far as nutrition and health, and my mother in law, my husband. And I just thought, we're going to make a massive change for like a month. And if not, steroids are going to be there in a month. I just
mm,
had this like serious red flag about putting my 4-year-old on steroids. I just thought, I can't do this. And so we drastically changed our diet. Like from that day, we did make like a seismic shift.
okay.
And within 3 weeks, he was literally like miraculously healed. We did a massive anti inflammatory protocol for him, changed our laundry detergent, changed his body wash, put organic sheets on his bed. We did what we could afford in that moment. And even small changes in that, like stacking up, made a massive difference for him. We started like putting local honey on his arms. It was just like a kind of a
Mm,
culmination of this research. And again, it was like I needed that why. I needed it to be big. And so it was absolutely life altering for us. That would have been 7 years ago now. My son's 11 now.
mm.
And we've just built upon that. And that was really like, you know, the real turn for us was right there. And that was an amazing story. The pediatrician was like, well, that is miraculous. I've never seen. And I'm like, well, we're gonna keep going on this. And thanks. Thanks again.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it. And then what was the conversation with the pediatrician? I'm assuming they're heart-centered and happy. It sounds like it was a combination of just putting him in the right environment 24/7, both in his clothes and his bed and everything. Was
Yeah.
there anything in specific that you noticed that was, like, extremely helpful, or was it just it was full circle everything?
So, a little bit more context. The story, my oldest 2 kids are adopted from foster care. So, they had a very, very, very traumatic start to their life. And so, it was a combination of him coming to a place of safety and
Mm,
being in a safe place, and then nourishing his body with food and cutting out a lot of the processed food that we had been eating or he had been eating previous to coming to be with us. And so for him, we saw the biggest change when we cut out the highest inflammatory foods like gluten
mm,
and dairy. And I don't want to demonize those foods because we've reintroduced them now that we've done a lot of healing and we eat them in like a more proper preparation. And we could probably get into a whole podcast
I
just on
know.
that, but we can
Totally.
leave it at that. But
Yeah.
in that kind of acute state of healing, we did a really intense anti-inflammatory diet and cut out everything that was really just
Mhm,
bogging his system down and focused on foods that came from the ground or had a mother. And that's like a really simple way that I've explained it to
mm,
people is just like we ate whole foods and we ate really well. And that was kind of the tipping point for him. And then once you get some momentum, you're like, wow, I'm going to change my laundry detergent. Maybe this could help a little bit. I'm going to change his bubble bath. I'm gonna put him in some more, natural fibers on his body because it's really bothering him. And let's think about the lotion that's going on his skin. What the heck are these ingredients I can't even read? It's kind of like a snowball effect. Once you start gaining a little momentum, you're like, well, what else could I fix here? And so that's really what we've done just over like years now.
I love all of that. I love all of that. I mean, and you're right. We definitely could do a whole show just on the nutrition piece. But I
Yeah.
also love the fact that you said that you made a radical shift. You completely made a radical shift. But since then, you've been able to reintroduce some things back in. And so that's important, I think, for people to know that just because you decide to make a radical change, and a lot of the times it's around discovery, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need to completely change a bunch of stuff just to make just to go into that discovery, like, what is it? What could it be? And food, I mean, it is our fuel. It is not just a satisfaction or 5-minute satisfaction. I mean, we all love great food and the taste of it, but
Yeah.
we really need to go back to the basics of this is nourishment, fuel. It is the gas in our tank. And I
Yeah.
also love the fact that you said the ground or from a mother. Like, I've never heard
Yeah.
anyone say that before. That's so sweet. I love that.
It seems like such a simple thing, but it's really easy to walk to the grocery store and be like, "Does this bag of Cheetos have a mom? Like, where did it grow from?" Like, even for my kids, it's really simplified for them because 'cause they'll ask, like, if we have some kind of cookie or something, they're like, "Where did this come from the ground?" And it's like, "Well, we made it with wheat," or "Butter comes from a cow," so it's like a teaching moment for people too, and nutrition can get really nuanced and really complicated, and each person is really a bio individual. So what works for me and my body may not work for my son. And so it is just a lot of what you said, discovery and majorly trial and error and taking things out, reintroducing, trying. Did this make my body feel good? Did this flare up? And so it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, and I think people, I mean, you have to have the patience, but also we chatted about this too, about going inward and listening to your gut intuition
Yeah.
and just knowing that this could make a change. Like if your gut is telling you this is probably a good decision, just try. Just
Yeah.
just make the shift and see what
Yeah.
happens. And I know you're a mama of four, right? You got
Yeah. I
four
have
littles.
four kids from
So this
11 down to 2.
this was your old this is your oldest, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
as you've had, brought 3 more babies into the world, I know I saw a beautiful picture of you a couple days ago out for a walk, taking care of your mindfulness and
Yeah.
yourself as a mama
Yeah.
and a wife. So to walk me through a little bit, like, what is your daily routine? Like, what are some of your non-negotiables?
Yeah. One thing about me is like I'm not gonna do it halfway. If we're gonna do something, we're gonna really do it right. And so non-negotiable for me, I'm absolutely going to be moving my body every single day. And if that means my kids watch 30 minutes of a show, like that's okay.
Yeah.
And so one non-negotiable, absolutely, we live on a beautiful piece of property up a hill. And so it's a 1 mile walk every day. And I do it in the morning by myself and I do it in the evening with my husband. And we've done that and we just love it. It's like free. It's awesome. You're outside, you're in nature. I can either listen to a podcast, I can just like be calm. I don't do my sauna every single day, but that is like a weekly non-negotiable
Same,
3 or 4
same.
times. I know we could like geek out on saunas too. We have a
Yeah,
lot of little things we could go into, but I think the biggest foundation for our day though is our food. And as a mom, as a wife, making sure I have a plan, a meal plan, making sure I know what I'm going to eat that's going to provide me with protein. So my blood sugar is stable, so I'm not freaking out on my kids. That really sets the tone for our day. And like, are we going
absolutely.
to be going out? Like, how do I need to plan to have meals so that we're not rushing around trying to find something while we're out that's not going to serve our bodies? And it's okay sometimes to do that, but we have resiliency in our bodies now where we can do that. But I want to plan and make sure that we have nourishment for while we're out. And so I would say like our nutrition, movement, and then the sauna is definitely a huge pillar for my husband and I both to like I homeschool my kids, my husband works from home, so we're like here. So we really have that little tiny box. It's not tiny, but that's kind of our like delineation almost where it's like we're going here. This is like our time. We're having a minute. And our kids know like they can come ask us something if they need something. Our sauna's down in our basement, but they give us that space and realize like we've communicated with them. We're better moms, dads, wives, husbands, sisters, friends if we do these things. So we need you to help us like make space for us to take care of ourselves. But You can do a lot of those things without having a sauna if you just have self-discipline and sometimes motivation, but sometimes I'm not motivated to move my body, but I know like the feeling afterwards is going to be great. I know if I make these really nourishing breakfasts, I'm going to be set up for the day. It's a lot of really simple things and being self-disciplined, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we could certainly do a whole show on the sauna, and everybody that's listening is probably like 9 out of 10 people on the show have a sauna. Like, that's not a coincidence. Obviously, it's a huge piece of my life. It has been forever. It saved my life, in my opinion. But also, what you just described to me, I'm literally over here sitting with like tears, like goosebumps, all the things. You guys have created a sanctuary space. Like, it's literally the premise of Home Set Heal. I know why we're friends now. I know why the universe brought us together because you just described for everyone what the purpose is, right? Like what our homes are supposed to embody. They're not just supposed to be
Yeah.
boxes that we hang out at and reside in, like lay our heads down at night. It's where we're educating our kids. It's where we're having nourishing meals. It's where we're
Yeah.
having great relationships with our kids and our husbands and our wives and our spouses. And it's our home base. Like that's really what my home has become. It's like sometimes it's hard for me to put into words what our home is to us. It's our sanctuary space. It's my
Mhm.
sacred space. And I'm like you, I go out for a walk each morning. Oftentimes it's by myself. Mark and I
Yeah.
take an evening walk every night. So
Yeah.
same routine,
Yeah.
similar routines because I love the balance of having that peace and time with myself, but I also cherish and value that conversation that Mark and I have in the evening at the end of our day. Like,
Yeah.
how was your day? And he works from home as well. He does have an office space that he works in once in a while, but we have to create the space and the boundaries and the places for us to go do and be the best
Yeah.
version of ourselves. So our sauna and our wellness room is in our lower level as well. It's kind of a disconnect. We have cats. We don't have kids, so a little different there.
So,
We don't very different. We don't have
yeah.
to be like, okay, cats, we're gonna go down there. Like, peace out, get out of here. But it's really, I mean, for me, even when I'm in the sauna and Mark's home or doing whatever, and vice versa, we close the door. Like it's our time, it's our space.
Yeah.
It's really kind of a set whatever you're working on down to check into yourself or check into cooking the meal or
Yeah.
check into the conversation with the husband or check into teaching the kids. It's just really about going back to what I say is like homesteading or primal living or just getting back to basics in what feels good and
Yeah.
what you just described and that green color in your background. By the way, it
I'm in
feels
my
so
husband's
good.
office, so it's all his mastermind, but I do love it in here.
It's beautiful. I mean, it really, again, is like all about creating the space that makes you feel good and make you
Yeah.
feel your best version. So I love that. I know we spoke a little bit about like the organic bed, and I know we talked about resting and restoring in our sleep. We talked a little bit about the Ovasan and the essential beds that we sleep on.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of getting the best you rest and restore that you can. Tell me a little bit about how is getting the best sleep and the best health for your kids excelling them in their life and in how they show up every day? Because I know we have a lot of moms that are listening, or a lot of
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah, one kind of other like pillar of our life is we follow something called 1,000 hours outside. And
Mm,
so when I was doing research, just becoming a mom, I realized that the standard American kid does not spend very much time outside. And like that is how my kids calm down. They get to move their muscles, they get to be in nature. And so we kind of set this intention for our family that we're going to spend 1,000 hours every year outside. And so this kind of ties into rest because when my
yeah,
kids are getting natural light, when they're breathing fresh air, when they're running barefoot outside, and we've done this on this property. We've done this when we lived in the city with a very small yard. And so I think it's attainable wherever you live. But that makes all the difference in the world. If we're spending 4 or 5 hours outside every single day, their little brains and bodies are ready to go to sleep come 8 or 9 p.m. And we're not fighting with them every single night. And we have hard bedtimes for sure. That's just kind of how it
right.
goes some days. But
Mhm.
that's been hugely key for my kids to be outside in natural light, breathing fresh air. And when it comes time for bed, like they're ready to wind down and rest and like their bodies have been used, their energy has been used. And I know they've been nourished. And so it's like they have what they need to lay down and go to sleep. And man, if we get off our schedule or stay out late for something fun, which we can, do, we're flexible, we really pay for it with our kids' behavior, their attitudes, their their willingness to jump in and help and be a part of the family team. Like we have found that it's really been great for our kids to be on like a really set schedule. And so I don't know if that answers your question completely, but those are kind of some of the facets that we follow as
Yeah.
far as like making sure my kids are nourished in their minds by getting good sleep. And then I can sleep. If I'm not getting sleep, man, things are really going out the window a little quicker.
Exactly. You totally answered the question. I don't even remember exactly what the question was. I was just recalling our conversation about the power of sleep and the power of
Yeah.
energy and the power of the circadian rhythm and how we need that natural sunlight and how that affects our kids and their behaviors. And, just obviously you're teaching and you're with them all day long so that
Yeah.
you're able to, again, kind of be in that discovery mode and that feedback mode of like, what's working, what's not working. I've
Yeah.
never heard the 1,000 hours outside. I love that.
Yeah.
Where did you find that?
Her name is Jenny, and she runs an organization called 1,000 Hours Outside. She's written a book called Until the Streetlights Come On. She's fabulous. She has a wonderful podcast.
Oh,
It's really a popular, gaining a lot of momentum, I should say. But yeah, I just heard about it. I think I was on Instagram and just saw it, and we followed it for several years now. And one thing that I think I thought when I became a mom was like, I'm gonna have to like entertain my kids all the time. Like I'm in charge of them having fun, and I've, like, completely shifted. Yes, I have a ton of fun with my kids. We do really fun stuff, and I love being a mom, but it is not my job to entertain them at 24/7. Like, they can go be bored. My
right.
11-year-old, this is a couple months ago now, was like, "Okay, we're done with school. We're going outside. I have work to do. You guys are going outside." My kids are at the ages now where they can do that. Not my 2-year-old, but my 3 oldest. And my son's like, "I'm bored. I don't want to." I'm like, "Tough luck, honey. Go on. I'll see you at lunch." And he went in the garage and got out his woodworking tools, and he got a branch from a tree. It was like this big, and he carved a wooden car out of it because he was bored. Like his brain needs this downtime. He needs to be bored. He needs to be a boy and climbing trees and running around.
Yeah.
Had he been inside, he never would have done that. And they have toys, they can play inside. They play inside too. It's like it's always this balance, this swinging pendulum of where can we find the balance. But I've just been really inspired by my kids that they can entertain themselves. They don't have to be entertained 24/7, and they can be outside and they can create games. And that's what we've done for most of human history, right?
I love that. And I'm fascinated. He carved a car out of a
I'll have to
branch.
send you a picture. It's really
Please
cool.
do. I
Yeah.
come over going, what? An 11? That's fantastic. But that's what it's all about. I mean, we grew up in a time where, I laugh about it all the time, but we played kick the can outside at
Yes.
night. We were out with the flashlights at night. Our parents were constantly having to call us in.
Yep.
We were climbing trees, and fortunately, we were blessed to live in a country neighborhood as well, where we had some kids and a lake was nearby, and we rode our bikes, and it was a pretty safe place to
Yep.
just kind of explore and be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I strive to encourage people to get back to that because I
Yeah.
think that the overarching conversation sometimes is like, how did we get away from that? Well, I mean, we did, right?
Yeah.
Technology and the internet, and obviously internet is allowing us to have this conversation today,
Right.
So I'm grateful and give gratitude for the technology and the resources and the abundance of things we have, but we can't lose sight of the things that make us great. And
Yeah.
that's being outside barefoot. I was out barefoot 10 minutes before you got
Yeah.
connected today. I'm outside grounding and doing my meditation because the earth is so charged. It's so charged. And anybody who knows me knows that if they call me with like, Jen, I need some advice, or what do I do about this? My first thing is go outside and lay in the
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah.
Go outside and lay in the freaking grass for 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Let the earth hold you and just lay there and ask yourself, what do I need to do? Because the charge and the energy will guide you. That's where it's at. And unfortunately, our shoes have rubber soles, our houses have all these materials. And so it's important to get outside. And for kiddos, obviously, so important for their mind developments. But I just think us as adults too, like, again, that's why we moved out of the city into the country to kind of
Yeah.
get in and around the things that were important. Oxygenation, I shared with you before we hit the record button. I'm still working through some healing on the left side. The motor function on my left hand isn't
Yeah.
100%. And some days are better than others. And on the days that I get frustrated, I go lay in my yard with my hands palm down, right? Like my
Yeah.
hands down to the ground, just asking for some energy and asking for some recharge. We plug our
Yeah.
phones into the wall. We plug all of our devices in. I think it's so important that we plug in as well. So I'm definitely going to check out that 1,000 hours
Yeah,
outside too.
check it out. And I think one thing that this kind of leads into that's really important, a lot of people will come to me and say, like, we just don't have the money to buy this type of food.
Mm.
I just can't afford a sauna. Like, how did you do that? And one thing I want to encourage people is a lot of these things you can do for free for your health, and they're going to make a massive difference. Like, you can walk for free. If you can walk, it's free. You can go put your feet on grass somewhere for free. There are a lot of healing modalities that do cost money, right? They do. But there are a lot that don't. And so I think that's an encouragement to people. It was to me when we first started out and we didn't have all these things years
Right.
ago. And so I just want to remind people, like, there is free medicine, like uh,
Oh, yeah.
hugging your spouse could be medicine for the day, or
Mm.
so
Oh, yeah, absolutely can. In fact, I was traveling all day yesterday and was in the car and just a lot of different appointments and different meetings and driving all over the state and got home about 7 o'clock last night. And like the first thing I did was just hug Mark.
yeah,
I could tell he had had a busy day. I had had a busy day. We were drained. And I just walked up to him and just gave him like I could call it a silent hug, but it's just like the warm hug, right? Like to
yeah,
sit there in and just absorb it and just absorb the energy. And it's like, okay, okay, where do we go from here? Like that,
yeah,
this love. I mean, I'm a huge proponent to that. I think love is the best medicine, to be quite honest, because a lot of the times getting the love, either giving or receiving it, like that's so nourishing. And so, to
yeah,
your point, that's free. I mean, get in and around the people who love you the most and care about you and make you feel the most vibrant and abundant. When I stepped into this journey and was given the news of heavy metal toxicity, as well as I already knew I was overweight, like I didn't need anybody to tell me that. So I had all of these things going on. I spent no money when I first stepped into this. I
yeah,
had a free consultation
yeah,
with a holistic practitioner that looked me in the eye and said, "You need to make some changes."
yeah,
And it starts with relationships. It starts with food. Yes. We're going to spend money on food anyway, so you might as well make it count, right?
for
I always say
sure,
you're going to pay for it now, you're going to pay for it later. So
for
get
sure,
really clear on what you're spending your money on, and you can make shifts in your home, even if it's just creating a space and decluttering. I know I just recently popped out onto the website, and this is the reason it's a free checklist for people to download. Like, where can I start? And a big place, one of the places you can start is declutter your home, declutter your life. Like, it's
yeah,
chaos. It's like monkey mind in the brain, right? It's monkey mind in your house.
yeah,
It's carrying extra stuff. So when you make space for that, then you can see and think and feel a little bit more clear about what else you need to do.
yeah,
And of course, if you need some of these modalities, they cost money. But when
yeah,
you start freeing up the space and the energy that I call, you start allowing that frequency to call in the things that you need. And I know you and I've had conversations about different unique ways that you can invite those things into your life, like create partnerships with
yeah,
the companies or create partnerships with people who have these opportunities. When I had Generate Wellness, the wellness center, I had people come in on a pretty regular basis, actually, ask me, is there any way that I could try the sauna for free? And I know some people listening to this are probably like, what are you nuts? Like, why would you do that? And it wasn't all the time, of course,
right,
but if
right,
somebody had the courage to come in my door and say, I'm dealing with something, would it be okay if I tried this?
yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, if it
yeah.
was available right now, how's right now sound?
Right.
or we've got room on our schedule this time. Like, it could be the one thing they need to
Right.
make the decision to invest in their health
Right.
and well-being, and they just don't know. So people just need to ask. You just
Yeah.
don't know, and having a perception about something or thinking you can't do something. I posted something yesterday. I'll probably butcher it. It's really small. It's like, we don't get what we want. We get what we believe.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you posted
Yeah,
that. I was like, "Oh."
I know. So I was in the car for like 5 hours yesterday, and like I said, just all over the place and listening to a couple of my favorite podcasts. And that stuck with me. I actually hit the pause button when I heard that. That was Patrice Washington's Redefining Wealth podcast, The
Okay.
Six Pillars of Life, dropped yesterday. I hit the pause button. I love Patrice. And I was like, hmm, that's an interesting statement, right? That's
Yeah.
interesting because we don't get what we want. We get what we believe, because I put myself back 12, 15 years ago on my own health journey, and I believed I could heal myself. I
Mhm.
wanted to, yes, but I believed. And
Yeah.
so that's how you shift things. That's how you make change. And so that was kind of an interesting aha moment for me.
Yeah, and something we talked about on our last call that I was like, what I really have been loving about your podcast is that I already believe the things, most of the things, all the
You
things you're
know,
saying, but it's like I'm in my mind believing the sauna is even better for me after listening to you, after listening to your guests on the podcast. So when I get in there, it actually is better for my body because I
yeah,
am like, wow, this is more amazing than I even remembered from all these times that I've been using it, you know? And so it
right.
really is powerful. Like education is powerful.
And staying consistent with that. I love that you just shared that, because I think that could be applied to just about anything. It could be our relationships, right? Like, we know you enter into a relationship or a friendship, but you have to like nourish it as well as get an understanding of, why is this good for me? Like,
Mm,
what is the value that it's bringing? And we do, it's a muscle we need to exercise all the time, is being consistent in our behaviors, but being consistent in our thoughts. Like,
mm,
boy, we could tell a story, right? We're creating the
yeah.
movies of a lifetime
Yeah.
in our minds. And so, to reinforce the things we already know, so that
Mm,
when we're, to your point, sitting in the sauna, you're going a little bit deeper into, why am I doing this?
yeah.
Why am I nourishing my body? So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. I love that. Yeah, that statement yesterday just really struck me in a deep way of remembering, we have to continue to do this work. We have to continue to lean on each other. We have to
Mhm.
continue to share ideas
Right.
and go to the places that we know that we can get that pick me up. Or like, if my voice snaps you into like, it's go time, or that's right, I need to get my
Yeah.
buns back in the sauna,
Yep.
or I need to get my buns back in my walking shoes and
Yeah.
out the door. If my voice encourages somebody to do that, like, that's what we need to do. We need to put that bud in the ear and
For
find that
sure.
person or thing that
Yeah.
encourages us to keep moving and keep elevating our life. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so
So
good.
good.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I feel like we will continue this conversation in the future for
I'm
sure.
sure. Yes. Thank you for having me. What you just said, you have definitely done for me. It's like been a little bit of a recalibration just listening to your podcast. It's like just these reminders of things that I know. And as humans, we do forget. We have to remind ourselves like, this is good for you. You need to be consistent. Like you said, you need to have self discipline. You're an adult. You can get up and you can do this, you know? And so thank you from me to you for
Yes.
for being that for me. More recently, it's been really crazy when Joe called me, "I met this lady, Jen, you have to talk to her." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." So it's just
I know.
so nuts.
I mean, what was funny is like, I mean, we won't go into it. I know that you and I talked about it, but the alignment that we had, Joe and I were like literally staring at each other. This is the funniest thing. Like, a couple dozen people get together in a room in Florida, and how we're all connected so closely. My book publisher was at that event. Of all the
It's
people,
crazy.
we didn't know we were going. So I'm working on a book, a sauna book. There's
Yeah.
there's there's some news, breaking news. I haven't announced that
Woo.
yet. There it is. So I'm working on a book, and the publishing, the they were there, and it was like, "What?" But this
So
is how the
crazy.
universe works, right? It brings the people that you're aligned. I always say tune your frequency, tune your radio to attract the people that you want in your life. And so when Joe and I started riffing on like the sauna and all the things, I have to tell you too, he was like, you need to talk to my wife. He's like, we're gonna chat, we're gonna do some things, we're gonna, I'll have you on my show, like we're gonna do some stuff. He's like, but you need to meet my wife.
That's
She's a
awesome.
pillar. Yeah, he propped you up on such a pedestal. He's like, she's really the pillar of our home. He's like,
My
she's
we
amazing.
he's awesome. We make a really good team. He's really
I can tell. And it's so sweet. And I love it. And I love the fact that you and I connected. And I'm
yeah,
so
me
grateful for
too.
your time today. We will continue this conversation. Thanks
Yeah,
so much,
thanks.
Megan.
Thank you for having me.
How lovely was that, friends? I just love chatting with Megan. I hope you enjoyed it too. It's interesting to me how stories align, even though the specifics are so different. That's why I just love these conversations. If you're feeling inspired or led to connect with Megan, please do go check out her Instagram page. She shares fun with her family, healthy living, and I think you'll really resonate with her. Also, if you got something out of this conversation or any other show recently, thank you for rating or reviewing the show. It means a ton to me, and I love reading your feedback. Cheers to health and happiness, my friends. Thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. This helps me expand my reach to other health and wellness enthusiasts. If you're interested in purchasing a Clear Light sauna, have a topic request, or just want to connect with me, please head over to my site, jenhellerlifestyle.com.